Iako nema direktnih razgovora Prištine i Beograda na visokom političkom nivou, Kosovo je i dalje tema na visokom diplomatskom nivou. Dok velike sile, pored izaslanika Evropske unije Miroslava Lajčaka, imenuju i svoje specijalne emisare, pitamo se da li je ukrajinska kriza ipak bacila pod tepih nerešene probleme na Zapadnom Balkanu. Saznajte u Slobodno Srpski. Moj današnji gost je ambasador Nemačke na Kosovu, Jernom Rode. Vaša ekscelencijo, dobrodošli u Slobodno Srpski.
Yes, hello, good to be here.
Pre nešto više od 2 nedelje u Prištini, a istog dana i u Beogradu, boravio je nemački kancelar Olaf Scholz, koji je sutradan posjetio i Severnu Makedoniju, Bugarsku i Grčku, čini mi se. Koji su razlozi i efekti zapravo posjete kancelara Scholza Balkanu?
The Chancellor was on the region to underline the German priority for the Western Balkans, to underline the ultimate aim to include the Western Balkan countries into the European family.
Dobro, zadržimo se na Beograd i Prištinu, odnosno Prištinu i Beograd. Krenut ćemo od Prištine. Koje su po vama ključne poruke koje kancelar Scholz uputio Prištini, odnosno odavde iz Prištine?
The key messages were very clear and they are not new. The key messages were for Kosovo, what we need is visa liberalization. This is the only country in Europe which has not benefited from that. Even the Commission has said it's overdue. That has been also said by my foreign minister when she was here in March, the defense minister in May. So the second thing, as I said at the beginning, inclusion into European structures. We want to revitalize the Berlin process. The Chancellor has underlined that it's important that neighbors agree with each other and that he will invite for a conference in the fall to Berlin, together with our European partners.
Da, ali kancelar Scholz je posle razgovora sa premijerom Kurtijem i rekao da je za taj dijalog između Kosova i Srbije potreban konstruktivan stav i naveo da bi taj konačni sporazum doprineo stabilnosti pre svega regiona Zapadnog Balkana. Koja strana po vama nije konstruktivna trenutno u ovom dijalogu koji se vodi između Beograda i Prištine, odnosno Kosova i Srbije u Briselu?
I think I was expecting this question. I think I'm not here to distribute marks for performance. You know, when you have negotiations, it takes 2 for a tango. And constructiveness means we need results. For too long we have talked and no results. As I see, I think probably this week there will be again meetings in Brussels on energy, on maybe missing persons. You know, we need results on an issue which has been long time agreed in Brussels, the Association of Serb Communities, and that's what I mean with constructiveness. Constructiveness means you put something on the table and then you have a basis for negotiation.
Da, ali bile su brojne teme na tom pregovaračkom stolu, postignuti su i brojni sporazumi. Ko sad tu nije konstruktivan?
Again, you will get me to distribute marks. I have seen very constructive behavior on the energy issue. I think both sides say that they are close to an agreement. You know, there are things. You know, there have been, if you remember, the border points in Medare. They should have been manned by Serbia for a long time. but Serbia only meant them just before the elections in March, and they should have been done years ago.
Da, to se desilo nakon Vašingtonskog sporazuma zapravo. Morali su da odu u Vašington, odnosno u Belu kuću, da se o tome dogovore. Da Srbija pređe na prelaze, ako mislite na Merdaru, da srpski policajci i carinici i tako dalje.
Yeah, it happened only in March. So again, you know, constructiveness means, and that's why the Chancellor said, it's inconceivable that you become a member of the European Union, that any country becomes a member without recognizing each other. That was also not new. My foreign minister has said that, but if the Chancellor says it, maybe it just receives more attention.
Jasno, ali predsjednik Srbije Aleksandar Vučić je izjavio da je to prvi put da je Berlin od Beograda eksplicitno tražio priznanje Kosova. Do sada je valjda bio taj termin puna normalizacija odnosa uz potpisivanje tog sveobuhvatnog pravno obavezujućeg sporazuma. Drugim rečima, sve osim priznanja. Čime objašnjavate sad tu, rekao bih, promenu kursa nemačke politike prema Srbiji i zašto baš sada?
Again, it's not a change. When my foreign minister was here, Heiko Maas, then foreign minister, in April last year, he used the similar sentence. At the end of the normalization process, for us, it's clear there will be mutual recognition. When Foreign Minister Baerbock was here and in Belgrade, she said also the end of the comprehensive agreement must include full mutual recognition. Again, I don't understand the surprise. For us, it's no change in stance.
U suprotnom, nema Evropske unije, ni za Kosovo, ni za Srbiju, je li tako?
Yeah. I mean, that's for me clear. Do you import unresolved conflicts into the EU? And the clear answer is, I don't see it. My Chancellor doesn't see it, and we don't see it. Because we want, you know, the European Union is a peace project. It demands compromise on all sectors all the time. We are 27 members. We don't want to import for new members unresolved conflicts. New members have to show that they respect the rules of the club, whether it's sanctions, whether it's standards of democracy, human rights, economic standards, you know, there's a rule package to be observed.
Da, zadržimo se još malo u Prištini kad je posjeta kancelara Šolca u pitanju. Ipak je on insistirao na tom kompromisu, da tako kažem, očigledno on ne postoji, iako vi ne želite da sad uperite prst u bilo koju od strana da nije konstruktivna, ali ajde onda da vas pitam za posrednike u tom dijalogu, odnosno Evropsku uniju. Imaju li oni u tom dijalogu bar malo odgovornosti zbog te nekonstruktivnosti neke od strana? Ne moramo sad da navodimo koja je u pitanju.
Yeah. I mean, as you said yourself, the main stakeholders are Serbia and Kosovo. And it's very important that you have the political will and also the political courage to engage into constructive and forward-looking behavior, because you want to bring relief to your citizens, you want to achieve the ultimate aim from Pristina's point of view, the government of Kosovo, full normalization. For us, it's clear, full normalization means recognition. And we have said also publicly, I've said this in interview, if you negotiate, you have the Brussels agreements. One of the elements, for example, which the Serbian side always mentions is the association of Serb communities. There needs to be a basis for negotiation. And a basis, for me, is to put an offer on the table from both sides.
Pričat ćemo i o zajednici srpskih opština. Jedna od ključnih poruka kancelara Šolca u Beogradu bila je da je želja velikog broja evropskih zemalja da se Srbija priključi sankcijama Rusiji. Kako Berlin razume to što je Beograd osudio tu rusku agresiju prema Ukrajini, ali Moskvi još uvijek nije uveo sankcije? Odnosno, da li je kancelar Scholz uspeo da ubedi predsjednika Vučića da Srbija usaglasi tu svoju politiku sa politikom Evropske unije zapravo?
Yeah, as you mentioned yourself, this is a question for Serbia to be answered. We have made clear what we expect from Serbia. We, I mean, it's Germany and the whole EU. You want to join a club, you have to show that you respect the rule. There are 27 member states who have imposed sanctions. There are a lot of non-EU member states who also have imposed sanctions. I've not seen it yet from Serbia. So our message was, words are fine, but what we need is deeds. Because there's a brutal war going on in Europe. Russia has attacked a neutral country, and we are all supporting Ukraine, and it's overdue that all countries join, all democratic countries join these sanctions. And that's what we expect from a prospective candidate country.
A dokle će po vama Beograd, odnosno Srbije, moći da sedi na dve ili više stolice u isto vreme, kao što je sad slučaj?
Yeah, that's a question I cannot answer, but I can only say what is clear, that the dancing on two weddings is increasingly not tolerated. And, you know, the EU is a community of 27 member states. All other candidate countries have aligned with the sanctions. Also, the government of Kosovo has aligned with the sanctions. If you don't align and are the outlier, who has the problem? The 35 countries who have aligned, or the one country who has not aligned? And, you know, that is the question which has to be answered not by me, but in Belgrade.
Da, jasno, ali zašto se zapravo toliko insistira na tome i koji su praktični efekti toga što je, eto, pomenuste Kosovo, na primjer, uvelo sankcije Rusiji i to što, recimo, Srbija nije uvela sankcije Rusiji? Ili je u pitanju samo to da treba da svi budu jedinstveni protiv Rusije, odnosno da imaju jedinstvenu politiku sa Evropskom unijom?
You know, we are here talking not about, you know, some custom duties which are unfairly imposed on somebody. We are talking about a war in Europe in the 21st century. And that has crossed the red line. You know, thousands of people die every day or in the last 2 months. And that demands a clear answer, and not some, as you mentioned, not dancing on two weddings. In this point, you have to be clear. I mean, imagine even the policy changes in Germany. We have set up a special fund for defense, 100 billion euros. That's how much the situation has changed. Countries who have never imagined to join NATO want to join NATO. Sweden, Finland, even Denmark is now part of the NATO process. So please, you know, I can only underline the gravity of the situation. And in this situation, you know, it's not too much to ask any candidate country or any country who wants to be part of the European family to behave like a member of the European family.
Da, a da li se i kako po vama ovaj rat u Ukrajini reflektuje na odnose Kosova i Srbije i generalno na stanje na zapadnom Balkanu i da li po vama postoji opasnost da se taj sukob, da kažem, prelije i na Balkan?
You know, I mean, of course it has effects. You see that the discussion is very clear now to provide Ukraine with a candidate status. But exactly that was the reason for my Chancellor's visit. He wanted to underline that we are not neglecting the region. That's why he went to Kosovo, Serbia, Macedonia, and Bulgaria. We see how important it is to integrate this region into European structures, to show our solidarity, to take point of the concerns in the country. And we are very clear that, of course, Russia wants to destabilize also this region. In order to counter that, you have to show our partners here in the region that we are with you, that we share your concerns. For example, the energy question, which is very concerning here too, like in Germany. Everywhere prices are rising, and that is of very high concern for the citizen.
Da, a pomenuli ste integracije Zapadnog Balkana. Da li će ovaj rat u Ukrajini zapravo ubrzati integracije Zapadnog Balkana ka Evropskoj uniji ili će ih možda još više usporiti zbog te nestabilne situacije u čitavom svetu, rekao bih?
I hope so. It speeds up the integration. I hope it speeds up visa liberalization for Kosovo. I hope that it speeds up that the countries do their homework, that the conflict, Macedonia, Bulgaria can be resolved. Some of the candidate countries negotiate for a long time. But it also depends that these countries do their homework. As I said, that sanctions alignment happens. That because, this is not a Christmas wish list. You have a whole package of conditions, of recommendations to fulfill on both sides. The EU has to do its homework, and the candidate countries have to do their homework.
Kosovo je obavilo deo svog domaćeg zadatka, odnosno uvelo je sankcije Rusiji. To je zapravo jedan od zadataka. Međutim, vlasti u Prištini zalažu se sada i za što skoriji ulazak Kosova u NATO. Da li je to moguće s obzirom na činjenicu da 5 zemalja Evropske unije i 4 članice NATO-a nisu priznale zapravo nezavisnost Kosova, niti najavljuju da nameravaju da to učine, bar ne u skorijoj budućnosti, čini mi se.
Yeah, you put the point of the problem, or you have put the focus on the problem. As long as they are non-recognizers, it will be very difficult to join. But again, it underlines how much this war of aggression, has changed the political landscape. That there is a dynamism to join NATO, not only by traditional European countries I mentioned before, Finland, Sweden.
Da, pomenuli ste malo pre Švedsku, Finsku, ali koliko je realno da Kosovo na neki ubrzani način, da tako kažem, postane članica NATO-a?
I see it as not very realistic. I mean, first, before you join NATO, even the Kosovo government has clearly said, we want to join the Partnership for Peace as a first step. We'll see how that develops in the next month. But of course, we support Kosovo's membership or integration into European structures. Like Germany also publicly supports Kosovo's membership in the Council of Europe.
Da, jel podržavate članstvo Kosova u NATO?
Yeah, but it's not on us. Long term, yes, but it's first you need to be, you have to convince the non-recognizers to change their stance.
Da, rekao ste da Nemačka podržava Kosovo ka putu ka Savetu Evrope, odnosno Kosovo je apliciralo za članstvo u Savetu Evrope i ima podršku Nemačke za to. Međutim, vi ste nedavno, vi lično, rekli da bi Kosovo pre toga trebalo da se pozabavi pitanjima kao što je, recimo, vraćanje zemljišta manastiru Visoki Dečani, odnosno sprovođenje one odluke Ustavnog suda. Mislite li da hoće?
It's very difficult to answer hypothetical questions. What I have said is, for me, the obvious. If you want to join a club, you have to respect the rules of the club. And I have worked with the Council of Europe a long time ago, and I know the rules and the procedures. And there are 47 member states. 12 of them are so far non-recognizers. And you need a two-thirds majority. And normally in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, once a new member state wants to accede, there are recommendations made. And, and in these recommendations, you put normally down things you want to see before membership. And, it's not rocket science to imagine that this constitutional court decision will appear into the recommendations, because the Council of Europe is about the rule of law, human rights, minority rights, and again, you have to fulfill club memberships, and it would be good if this problem is solved rather sooner than later.
Da, samo da pojasnimo. Mislite da će pitanje zemlje, odnosno zemljišta manastira Visoki Dečani biti jedan od kriterijuma, odnosno uslova koje će Kosovu biti postavljeno da bi ono postalo član Saveta Evrope?
Look, in the Council of Europe, Parliamentary Assembly normally issues recommendations. It's not conditions. But if you do not implement decisions of your own constitutional court, I think, that's what we also have underlined in various Quint statements. You really undermine your credibility if you don't implement your own court decisions. Of course, it has repercussions on confidence of minority, of religious or ethnic minorities. And I think it's very important that Kosovo implements its own court decisions. Also to create momentum in the Council of Europe. How you want to be a cheerleader and convince skeptic countries if this, I would say, construction site is still there.
Da. Ajde samo još da potpuno uprostimo ovo pitanje. Jel to znači da Nemačka neće podržati, recimo, Kosovo da postane član Saveta Evrope ako, recimo, ne ispuni, odnosno Kosovo ne ispoštuje ovu odluku svog Ustavnog suda?
Very direct question, very non-direct answer. It's a hypothetical question. I'm quite convinced that Kosovo will implement this decision. I just hope it's rather sooner than later.
Dobro, diplomatski. Dobro, a u čemu su sličnosti, a u čemu razlike? I imali ih između politike kancelara Scholza i bivše kancelarke Angele Merkel prema politici proširenja Evropske unije kad su zemlje Zapadnog Balkana u pitanju?
I mean, the very easy answer would be there are no differences. Chancellor Merkel has started the Berlin process. The new chancellor has said, I will take up the torch and will continue and revitalize it. We have the coalition, the new coalition between the Green, the Social Democrats and the Liberals has in its coalition treaty underlined its priority for the Western Balkans. So in that sense, our policy doesn't change. For me, it's easy. The main policy goals are the same. Integration of all Western Balkan countries in the European structures. Of course, there are personal differences between political personalities. But the fact that in the last 3 months, the foreign minister, the defense minister, and now the chancellor have visited not only Kosovo but Belgrade underlines that Germany is not only putting nice words on paper, but we are actually visiting the region and trying to create a momentum for dialogue and compromise.
Da, pa da, u tom smislu isto da vas pitam i oko dijaloga Beograda i Prištine, odnosno Kosova i Srbije. U čemu su sličnosti, a u čemu razlike između politike kancelara Scholza i bivše kancelarke Angele Merkel prema tom briselskom dijalogu i primjeni tih postignutih sporazuma, posebno onih koji se tiču srpske zajednice, koje ste i sami pomenuli na početku emisije, recimo zajednica srpskih opština i zaštita prava i imovine Srpske pravoslavne crkve konkretno?
There is no difference. We want minority rights to be implemented. We want the rule of law to reign. The only difference is that, just some months after Chancellor Scholz was elected, he visited this region. He came to Pristina. He went to Belgrade. He invited Prime Minister Kurti and President Vučić 5 weeks ago to Berlin to try to forward the dialogue. So there's a strong personal commitment by the Chancellor for this region, and I think you can't expect more. The only thing we now need are results, and that depends on the political leaders.
Jasno, i bivša kancelarka Angela Merkel je dolazila i u Beograd i u Prištinu i iste takve poruke je slala, ali ono što zapravo i hoću da vas pitam, kako je moguće da očigledno niko, pa i jedna moćna, jaka Nemačka ne može da natera ili, kako se to diplomatski kaže, da zamoli ili da ohrabri Kosovo da ispuni ono što je dogovorilo, na primjer, u Briselu, ili da ispoštuje odluku sopstvenog Ustavnog suda, o kojoj smo malo pre govorili.
Again, that leads to the question how do we and how does the EU function? We can't impose conditions or, let's say, threaten leaders to say, if you don't do that, this will happen. We can maybe tell you what won't happen if you don't do it. If you don't implement court decisions, maybe it's more difficult to join the Council of Europe. If you don't join sanctions, maybe it's more difficult to speed up the EU accession process, open new clusters. So that's how we function, that you need compromise to move forward. You have to create win-win situation. And I think this was also the main focus of Chancellor Scholz. Be constructive, see a win-win situation, and don't see when I get something, the others have to automatically lose. The EU works on that premise. We have win-win situation. If you compromise, everybody will win.
Pa je li izgubilo Kosovo nešto time što ne poštuje ovo, nije sprovelo u potpunosti ono što je dogovoreno u Briselu, ne sprovodi odluke Ustavnog suda?
Yeah, it loses credibility. Will it forward? Will it, let's say, enhance membership prospects for the Council of Europe? Does it create momentum? Is it positive? No, it's not positive. Is it positive that other countries do not align sanctions? No, that's also not positive. So what we need is positivity. So we all know what we can't do. We are here, and that's why Germany and the whole EU supports fully Miroslav Lajčák. We want to do what is possible. What is possible for the citizens, whether it's on license plates, on energy. I grew up in a divided Germany, and we focused in the end always on things which are possible, and not focus on things which are not possible.
Dobro, pre nego što odemo do naših građana koje smo pitali kako razumete politiku Nemačke prema Kosovu, još samo da vas pitam, Nemačka je poput drugih moćnih zemalja imenovala i svog specijalnog predstavnika za Zapadni Balkan. Zašto? Šta to znači?
Yeah, very easy. First, as I said, in the coalition treaty of the new government, priority for the Western Balkans. The Chancellor cannot come by every week, because there are a lot of priorities. So if you have a Western Balkan envoy, it clearly underlines our priority for this region. So the envoy can basically implement, be a constant dialogue. And I see it's not only us, now Greece has appointed a special dialogue. So you see, we as European neighbors, we are really focused on the region, and we want to support, contribute to progress.
Dobro, sada tu stajemo, idemo do naših građana na ulice Prištine, Gračanice i Severne Mitrovice. Njih smo pitali kako razumete politiku Nemačke prema Kosovu, pa da vidimo šta kažu.
Pa ne znam, ekonomski do negde dobra politika, ali u senci nije dobra. Ipak Nemci se plaše Rusima i imaju politiku dvoličnosti.
Više nego realno očekivanu, jer istorijski oni su nama, dokazano je to što su, a interes je raspon snaga između nas i njih. Mi smo manji, slabiji, moramo da vodimo mudru politiku. To jest korisno za nas u ovom trenutku, što je najkorisnije.
Pa iskreno rečeno ne razumem ni jedne države, ne prema Kosovu, nego prema narodu. Malo ti političari bi trebali o narodu da razmišljaju. Mi moramo da živimo ovde ko što smo živjeli do sad, da se slažemo, da jedni drugima pomažemo, da saradnja i poslovna, i politička, i porodična, i svaka.
Ja mislim u dobrobit svih građana Kosova. U zadnje vreme je dosta konstruktivna politika i korisna.
Pa Nemačka je nekako na dve strane. čini mi se da želi da bude i tamo i ovamo. Međutim, ovo što zadnji njihov potez je iznenađujući za sve, jer tražeći nešto od nekoga, to je stvarno iznenađujuće bilo za sve nas.
Na šta tačno mislite?
Pa na izjavu njegovu gde traži od predsjednika Vučića da prizna nezavisno Kosovo.
Pa Kosovo za njih je značajan jer oni Kosovo odavno su počeli da ga odvajaju i žele da ga osamostale od Srbije. Mi nismo ludi, mi sve to znamo, ali sve nekako hoćemo da prebrodimo, da se nekako spasimo, ali Boga mi sve ide gore i gore, teže i teže.
Pa ja mislim ne samo za Kosovo, nego za cijeli Balkan. Nemačka daje i dala uvek. Pomogao i Kosovo i cijeli Balkan.
Pa politiku Nemačke prema Kosovu razumem tako da oni žele što pre da završe taj projekat nezavisnog Kosova koji su i započeli.
Dobro, evo vidjeli smo i čuli šta kažu građani. Šta kažete na ovo? Ste očekivali ovakve odgovore?
No, I'm not surprised. I think my colleague in Belgrade, sometimes I see the same answers on Serbian TV, that there's an ulterior agenda in German policy. But you know, if there, I would categorically deny that. And again, Chancellor Scholz has not started anything new. We have always said this, and this is our policy for a long time. And unfortunately, the recent history in the Balkans since 1990 is a very tragic one. And I grew up with the Federal, Republic of Yugoslavia, and now we have 7 countries here. But that's the fact. And Europe is the answer, not the problem.
Jasno. Dobro, a kako gledate na bezbednosnu i političku situaciju generalno ovdje na Kosovu, pre svega na severu Kosova? I ima li razloga za zabrinutost?
Of course there are reasons for concern, because NATO is still here. You have, I arrived here in August, July 20. We have seen last year the problems when the issue with the car plates emerged. So when you come here and you hear something, there is an issue with car plates, and that it creates political problems. That even on German TV you see pictures that shows that the security situation or the political situation is not normal. Generally, I would say the situation is stable. There is no immediate threat. But what we have is that there are no political solutions for apparent banal problems, car plates. I have tried once myself to enter Serbia when I arrived here, and I didn't know, that my car insurance is not valid for Serbia. Since then, I know when I go into Serbia, you get stickers, so I could ski in Kapaunic. But when you're part of Europe, that shouldn't be the reality in 21st century, that you have to put stickers on car plates.
Da, posebno sam vas pitao za sever Kosova, zato što smo posljednjih mjeseci tamo imali brojne napade na pripadnike policije Kosova. Sad imamo i neki spisak sa preko 70 Srba koji se sumnjiče za rušenje ustavnog poretka i za brojna neka navodna druga krivična dela. Imamo najave tamo vodećih političara, pre svega i Srpske liste, koji najavljuju neke što demokratske, što i nedemokratske akcije ako dođe do hapšenja tih ljudi, među kojima su i čelnici neki Srpske liste. Kako ocenjujete zapravo tu, da kažem, naelektrisanu, ako tako mogu da je nazovem, situaciju na severu Kosova u vezi sa tim?
Again, the situation is not normal if part of Kosovo, where people don't pay utilities, energy, so we try to solve that in the north. As it comes to these summons of people in the north, I mean, generally there's nothing wrong with court authorities asking people to appear to give a statement. I mean, there were some months ago, if you remember, roadblocks in Canada because of Corona, and these people also have summoned for court because they violated rules that they blocked roads. So until there are clear violations of the legal order, I can't say anything to that.
Da, a kako generalno ocenjujete odnos pre svega ove aktuelne vlade Aljbina Kurtija prema srpskoj zajednici? I sami ste nedavno rekli, recimo, da predsjednica Kosova nije posjetila ni jednu opštinu, a eto nije ni premijer Kurti, da vas obavestim ako niste znali, a verujem da jeste, niti na severu, niti na jugu. Na jugu su Srbi već integrisani. Mislim, je li to normalno da ne postoji ta komunikacija?
It's not normal. I recently visited I visited the mayor of Mitrovica North and South. I visited the mayor of Gračanica recently. We spoke also about the problem. Of course, there is not a normal situation because there doesn't seem to be much dialogue. And again, if you don't have a state-to-state dialogue which is fully functioning, and I think there really needs to be much more needs to be done on the inner dialogue. Kosovo has 38 communities or municipalities. 10 of them are Serb majority communities. And of course, the government should have a constant dialogue with the elected officials of all municipalities, but especially the Serb communities. And there is not a normal situation, and we need a lot of progress on that. It's not normal when I go to Mitrovica South and North and that the German foreign minister has to bring the two mayors together. Apparently there's a problem, and that there's a bridge in the center of the city which is not open. Why? I don't understand. 2 other bridges are open. That is not a normal situation, and it should be rectified rather sooner than later.
Da, evo, prošlo je više od 20 godina, 23 godine tačnije od sukoba na Kosovu i dolaska međunarodnih snaga ovde. Kako ocenjujete zapravo te dosadašnje napore i domaćih i stranih institucija i organizacija u stvaranju Kosova kao demokratskog, multietničkog društva koje je okrenuto tim vrednostima Evropske unije zapravo? Je li moglo bolje? Odnosno, koje su greške? Šta nije ostvareno do sada? I koji su ključni zadaci u tom narednom periodu?
Of course, everything is linked, what you just mentioned, especially the situation in the north, in a way to the Kosovo-Serb dialogue between Pristina and Belgrade. But also governments in Kosovo, I would say it's a work in progress. We mentioned the situation in the municipalities. There's not enough dialogue there. If in the whole north of Kosovo utility bills are not paid, this is an abnormal situation. This is bad for the budget of Kosovo. This is unfair to the citizens in the south who have to pay the bills in the north. So we need solutions here and quick. So again, it's a work in progress, and we are of course not satisfied with the progress, and it should go faster. And we need political courage by the elected leaders to go the extra mile.
U nastavku, ko je Jernom Rode? Nemački ambasador na Kosovu Jernom Rode rođen je 1959. godine u Bernu. Završio je studije istorije, ekonomije i politike. Pre dolaska u Prištinu 4 godine bio je ambasador u Kolombu u Šri Lanci. 1990. godine počeo je da radi u Ministarstvu spoljnih poslova Nemačke i do danas je bio u više diplomatskih misija. Ambasador Nemačke na Kosovu je od jula 2020. godine. Gospodine Rode, početkom godine imali smo brojne reakcije u javnosti zbog najave obnove kuće Džafera Deve, koji je po brojnim tvrdnjama bio saradnik nacista, za neke je heroj. U svakom slučaju, UNDP i Evropska unija su odustali od te obnove, a Ministarstvo kulture Kosova mislim da nije. Vi ste također reagovali u vezi sa tim više puta i vaš stav je da, čini mi se, niste protiv obnove, već se mora opisati ko je bio Džafer Deva. Zašto je zapravo to važno?
You know, I didn't know Jafar Deva before. I was only alerted when this controversy started, and then I read about him. And you know, I stand what I said. He is a controversial historical figure. He was the interior minister in the regime which was put by the Nazi authorities put up in Albania. He was the interior minister there for a short time. He was a Nazi collaborator. Working for the German Nazi Wehrmacht since 1941, as you can read in several historical books. And he was one of the propagators of the SS Skanderbeg division, which created, you know, put some massacres here in this region against Jews, you know, Albanians, Serbs. So dealing with the past is a very difficult task. I mean, as a German, you know, I know it myself quite well. Also, family-wise, I come from a region. My father came from a region which is now Poland and Russia. You know, a lot of suffering there. We started the war. Germany, the Nazi Wehrmacht invaded Yugoslavia. You know, caused a lot of atrocities and massacres. I think we acknowledge that, and the most important point is, if you deal with the past, you have to put it into context. You can renovate houses. We use a lot of houses from the Nazi time, which have a controversial history, but we explain the history. You know, the German Defense Ministry is situated where the Nazis hanged a lot of the people who tried to kill Hitler of the 20th of July. The history is there. My foreign ministry used to be the Nazi central bank. Then it was the Central Communist Party headquarter. And now it's the foreign ministry. So the history is explained. So if you renovate a house, please put it in context, and that was my reaction.
Da. A šta ako Ministarstvo kulture Kosova nastavi po svome i obnovi tu kuću, odnosno stavi je u funkciju bez tog konteksta i objašnjenja ko je bio Džafer Deva?
Then you have to, I mean, you have to ask the Minister of Culture that. Don't ask me. We have clearly stated what we expect. I cannot impose on other countries how they deal with the past, you know. You have murals in Belgrade glorifying war criminals. You know, you have in Russia things which are abhorrent now. And now I can only deal with a situation where we express our opinion. You know, when something is inappropriate, if you don't put it into context. I remember some months ago, when one of the politicians from Srpska Lista compared the situation of the Serb minority with the the Crystal Night against the Jews. I also spoke up publicly. It was it was not appropriate. Please, you know, be appropriate, and that was my motivation, so to speak.
Jasno. Dobro, vratimo se nekim drugim političko-ekonomskim temama. Kako vi gledate na inicijativu, odnosno Nemačka, Otvoreni Balkan? Treba li po vama da Kosovo postane deo te inicijative?
Again, I cannot speak for Kosovo. I mean, the Chancellor was here to say we want to revitalize the Berlin process. What we need is the four freedoms, free movement of goods, of persons, you know, to have a common regional market. But we will not, we cannot criticize countries which want to cooperate together. This is a question to be answered to Kosovo. To Kosovo. What we underline is processes should be inclusive. That is the main point.
Jasno, ali eto, pomenuli ste berlinski proces. U čemu se sličnosti i razlike između tih inicijativa, mislim na Otvoreni Balkan i berlinski proces i zapravo stvaranje tog zajedničkog tržišta na Zapadnom Balkanu, za što se zalaže i Evropska unija?
I mean, so far for me, the similarities are in words, the same aims are propagated. In reality, not all Western Balkan countries have joined the Open Balkan process. Not Kosovo, Montenegro was there as an advisor, so that is a difference. Do you need processes? You know, in the end, if one process doesn't work, you know, alternatives pop up. So that's why the Chancellor was here to really underline we want the Berlin process to be a success, and that not alternatives have to mushroom in that way. We'll see. It depends on the stakeholders whether they can successfully also revitalize, because Germany can only, you know, contribute, but it's the stakeholders, it's the 6 Western Balkan countries who have to prove that they really can engage.
Da, dobro, idemo sad ponovo do naših građana na ulice Prištine, Gračanice i Severne Mitrovice. Građane smo isto pitali da li bi i Kosovo trebalo da postane ravnopravni učesnik inicijative Otvoreni Balkan i zašto, pa da vidimo šta kažu.
Ne.
Zašto?
Nikad ne bi ja to prihvatio. To znači nova Jugoslavija. To znači Srbija opet da bude glavna. I albanski narod nikad više neće verovati Srbiji. Mi sa Srbijom možemo samo da budemo dobre komšije. Kao što je bio u neko vreme. Ništa drugo.
Pa trebalo bi, ako već, ne znam, uopšte mi nije... Zašto ne bi znala da odgovorim? Zašto? Zato što su i oni narodi, i oni ljudi kao i mi, treba i oni da žive i da imaju neka prava i kao svi. Sav narod na svetu bi trebalo da ima podjednaka prava. Po nekom mome.
Ne.
Zašto?
Jer to su mutne rabote tu. Mutne rabote.
Ne bi znala stvarno da kažem odgovor na to pitanje, jer mislim da Kosovo ne... I oni imaju jedan cilj i oni se opredelili na taj jedan cilj i dok oni ne postignu taj svoj cilj, ništa ih drugo ne zanima.
Ali u sastavu Srbije. Treba, ali u sastavu Srbije, jer ona je pokrajina Srbije.
Jedino tako. Inače, status Kosova u okviru Otvorenog Balkana nije definican. I Vučić i Rama, mislim da su u pogrešnom putu ako misle da se taj Otvoreni Balkan oživi.
Pa mislim da bi trebalo da postane učesnik zbog, ne znam, pa boljeg ekonomske i robne razmene između država na ovom Zapadnom Balkanu.
Ne.
Zašto?
Zato što još nije nas priznao Srbija. Dok ne bude to, nema Balkan.
Pa ne znam. Ne znam, ja mislim da Kosovo još uvek nije rešeno pitanje, status Kosova, pa tek onda da se razmišlja o nečem više.
Dobro, evo vidjeli smo i čuli šta naši građani kažu. U Prištini Albanci su uglavnom protiv toga da Kosovo postane deo ove inicijative. Navode neke razloge, ne znam, da bi se Srbija u tom slučaju sve pitala. Jedan građanin reče zato što Srbija nije priznala nezavisnost Kosova i tako dalje. Vi malo pre rekoste da nisu sve zemlje u toj inicijativi. Međutim, vidjeli smo sad na ovom posljednjem sastanku koji su imali u Ohridu lideri ovih zemalja da premijer Crne Gore je rekao da će Crna Gora da zapravo podržava na neki način tu inicijativu iz Bosne, čini mi se predstavnik da je kazao da će se i Bosna najvjerovatnije priključiti. Šta kažete na ovo što smo vidjeli i čuli? Da li postoji opasnost da Kosovo ostane samo van te inicijative zapravo?
You know, I think the replies showed the confusion. You know, the status was mentioned. Everybody wants relief for the citizens. You know, and I think that should be the main focus. You know, focus on practical progress, recognition of diplomas, free movement of people. You know, less border controls. Because you also show us in Europe, if you can move ahead, you know, you also create momentum. That in certain member states of the EU there's a accession fatigue, you know. It's very difficult with 27 and then 33. So again, however you call it, you know, the sooner you have a regional market where neighbors show that they can work together, that is also, let's say, a good precondition for accession. If you constantly fight on recognition things, on status question, it's not helpful.
Jasno. Dobro, Nemačka je jedna od najsnažnijih partnera Kosova. Kako Nemačka preko vaše ambasade, odnosno vaša ambasada, pomaže taj ekonomski i socijalni razvoj Kosova, odnosno koji su najvažniji rezultati te podrške?
The most important results, I mean, as you say, Germany is Kosovo's biggest foreign investor, biggest trading partner, biggest source of remittances, also the biggest donor, including the funds which we channel through the EU. So Germany, for example, has provided a lot of infrastructure projects, transmission electrical lines, Kosovo, Albania, wastewater plants in Peja, Prizren, Jakova. And I mentioned before I visited the mayor of Gračanica. We are together with the EU, we provide funds for waste collection trucks all over Kosovo, and one of the municipalities which is profiting of that is Gračanica, which we will hand over the trucks to. So we work together also with the civil society, you know, the new social initiative in Mitrovica, NGOs here in Gračanica supporting language courses in both languages. I visit communities in Stirpce. There are things where we could do more. For example, I am an avid skier. I would like to see a modernization of the ski resort in Brezovica. I think that would be huge opportunities for the region, for Kosovo, and for the municipality of Stirpce and Brezovica.
Da, dobro, a kakve kontakte imate sa političkim predstavnicima iz srpske zajednice i šta im poručujete? Pomenuli ste da ste obišli Štrpce, Gračanicu. Imate li kontakte i sa ovim iz centralnih institucija, Srbima i na predstavnike opozicije srpske na Kosovu? I naravno i sa drugim predstavnicima srpske zajednice, nevezano za politiku. Mislim na predstavnike Srpske pravoslavne crkve, civilnog društva, kulturnim tim poslenicima.
Yeah, I visited several mayors. You know, I was in Mitrovica North 6 weeks ago. As I mentioned, visited Stirpce. We have regular contacts with the Srpska listka. I have been in regular contact with the representatives of the Serb Orthodox Church, Bishop Teodosije. Just 10 days ago, the abbot of Dečan Monastery, and various NGOs from the Serb communities, not only Serb communities, also Kosovo Albanian or Bosniak or Roma communities. So we are engaging with everybody, regardless of ethnic or religious background.
Dobro, evo i bližimo se kraju. Koliko mesečno u prosjeku dobijete zahteva za nemačku vizu od građana Kosova? Mislim da je krajem prošle godine i početkom ove godine bilo, bar je tako u medijima, bilo po 200.000 zahteva mesečno? Je li to moguće?
Yeah, thank you for the question. No interview without a visa-related question. Look, we have two kinds of visas. There are people who emigrate, who do, like in every Western Balkan country, who do family reunion work visa, you know. And then you have visa for visit. And the visa for work, for example, there is, in all Western Balkan countries, there's a kind of a lottery to let's say, to kill this myth that you have to pay for visa announcements or so. So we have between 50 and 60,000 participants at this lottery anymore, and there are about 700 visa appointments for work visas every year. So if these 50 to 60,000 people who apply in January, you know, and 700 get a visa, you can imagine that the same 50 or 55,000 apply next month. So it's not 200,000, it's mostly the same people. So the correct number is, for work visas, you have about, and this is a special kind of visas, this is visas for people who are demanding work visas for non-qualified work. And, you know, if you're a doctor, an IT specialist, whether you are in Belgrade, Sarajevo, or Pristina, you have, it's much easier to immigrate because we need specialists.
Dobro, evo i na samom kraju, vi ste na Kosovu skoro pune 2 godine. Šta je za vas najlepše ili najvrednije što ste vidjeli i doživjeli na Kosovu?
I mean, you know, there are two things. As I said, I'm a avid skier, and also I like nature. So when I am in the Šar Mountains, whether it's in Brezovica or Prevala, you know, this is beautiful, or bicycling in Bajgora in the area. But you know, when it comes to cultural sites, I have to say, you know, the church in Dečan is one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen, and I was there with my whole family. When my 4 children visited me, I brought them to the church. It's a beautiful area, and it's not by chance a World Heritage Site, but also the monastery in Peja, very beautiful.
Vaša ekscelencijo, hvala što ste bili gost emisije Slobodno Srpski.
Thank you very much for having patience with me.
Gledali ste i slušali Slobodno Srpski. Budite sa nama i sljedeće nedelje na vašoj omiljenoj televiziji Slobodno Srpski, ili kako god želite pišite na e-mail adresu slobodnosrpski@gmail.com ili pošaljite pismo na Medija centar Čaglavica za emisiju Slobodno Srpski. Prijetno!